But we've also got packs to open. We have plenty of packs stockpiled, or we have some amount of packs stockpiled, probably most of which are two Law and Eclipsed packs and 7 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles packs. Which definitely doesn't just have the theme song. Weird deviation of the theme song. Good stuff. Yeah, we're going to jump in and start opening some packs, I think. Hopefully you'll come back from the outbreak and won't miss too much. So, first pack of Law and Eclipsed. Ooh, we've got a whole bunch of Kithkin. So we've got the Mist Meadow Council, who is 4 and a green for a 4/3 creature Kithkin advisor. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a Kithkin, so it can cost 3 and a green for a 4/3, which isn't great, if I'm honest. Not awful, but isn't great. And when it enters, you draw a card, which makes it a little bit better. We've then got another Kithkin in the form of the Timid Shield Bearer. 1 and a white for a creature Kithkin soldier, 2 power, 2 toughness, and then for 4 and a white, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. This is a better Kithkin. Like, it's on rate of a 2 cost, 2 power, 2 toughness. Welcome back from the outbreak, everybody. Hopefully those ads weren't too intrusive. 2 power, 2 toughness for 2 mana. And then it also got the classic White Weenie Pump ability, where it's just your full team gets extra power and toughness for like all your mana. So if you end up just hitting loads of mana, you can just be like, oh, I've got something to do with it. We've then got a common wild card. We've then got the Rooftop Percher, which technically is also a Kithkin because it has the Changeling ability, which means it is every creature type. For 5 mana, it is a 3 power, 3 toughness creature shapeshifter that is a Changeling, so it's every creature type. It has flying, and when this creature enters, exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards. Doesn't have to be your graveyard, it can be anyone's graveyard. And it says from graveyards, so you can pick 2 different cards from 2 different graveyards. And you gain 3 life. It's also up to 2 targets, so you could just have it enter and gain you 3 life. Not terrible. Not amazing, but not terrible. Also, I like that it's trying to look like a cat, but also has wings. And then there's the cat in the background just being like, ugh, what is that thing? We have the Enraged Flamecaster, 2 and a red for 3 power, 2 toughness, creature elemental sorcerer with reach, so it can block your block and trade with Rooftop Percher. And whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, this creature deals 2 damage to each opponent. It's a pretty good card in the elemental deck, costing a lot of big spells just to be like, I ping everybody. And it's formatted well for commander format because it's each opponent as well, which is quite nice. We then have the Sizzling Changeling. Once again, it's a Changeling, so it's technically a Kithkin because it is every creature type. 2 and a red for 3 power, 2 toughness. And when this dies, you exile the top card of your library, and until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. So it kind of draws you a card. Kind of. But it's a card that you can use for a couple of turns, then it just goes away. And we have the Iron Shield Elf. 1 and a black for a creature elf warrior, 3 power, 2 toughness, and you can discard a card to give it indestructible until end of turn and tap it, which is the more modern version of Regenerate that they're doing, purely because Regenerate is a bit of a confusing mechanic that a lot of people don't fully understand, so it's easier to format it this way, where you give the creature indestructible for the turn and then tap it. And our rare from the pack is another elf, Gloom Ripper, 3 black for a creature elf assassin, 4 power, 4 toughness, and when this creature enters, target creature you control gets +X+0 until the end of your... target creature you control gets +X+0 until end of turn, and up to 1 target creature an opponent controls gets -0/-X until end of turn. where X is the number of elves you control plus the number of elf cards in your graveyard. So it buffs a creature you control and potentially kills spells like a creature your opponent controls if you've got a bunch of elves. So pretty good. A decent rare, but it is a 5-drop, so it's a bit like hit or miss. Our second Lorwyn pack. We've got Gold Meadow Nomad, another Kithkin. White for creature Kithkin Scout, 1 power, 2 toughness, and for white and exile this card from your graveyard, you create a 1/1 green and white Kithkin creature token. But you can activate that ability only as a sorcery and only while this creature is in your graveyard. We then have Feisty Spikeling. 1 and a Boros hybrid mana, so either red or white mana. Creature shapeshifter with changeling, 2 power, 1 toughness, and during your turn this creature has first strike. Not terrible. We then have the Wildvine Pummeler, which has one of the newer mechanics from the set called Vivid. So it's 6 and a green for a creature giant berserker, 6 power, 5 toughness. And the Vivid ability is basically a flavor word ability that basically goes, thing gets better the more colours among permanents you control. So in the case of Wildvine Pummeler, it has Vivid, this spell costs 1 less for each colour among permanents you control. And then it also has Reach and Trample. Not awful, quite a big top end, but if you're playing the 5-colour deck, it's just like, yeah, okay, I could cast it for potentially 2 mana as a 6/5 Reach Trample, which is really good. Assert Perfection, one of our elf fight spells or elf kill spells. 1 and a green for a sorcery. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. So it is a one-sided fight or a punch spell. For 2 mana, not bad. Is at sorcery speed, which is the downside, so you can't really use it as a combat trick. Unlike Aquatex Defense, 1 and a blue for Enchantment Aura with Flash, which means you can cast it at instant speed. Enchant creature you control. Enchanted creature. When this enters, the enchanted creature gets hexproof until end of turn, so you can use it to dodge a piece of removal. And enchanted creature gets +1/+2 until end of turn, so you can use it to give yourself a bit of extra toughness to survive a fight or a combat. We then have the Eclipsed Boggart, part of the Eclipsed creature cycle for this set, where they are all hybrid mana pips for a creature of a type that can search for the creature of that type or either of the basic lands that it needs to cast itself from the top 4. So in Eclipsed Boggart's case, it is a creature Goblin Scout for 3 Rakdos hybrid manas, so black-red, 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 or some variation thereof. So you could do it for triple black, you could do it for triple red, you could do it for black, black, red, or black, red, red, or that's pretty much it. Yes. It's a 2 power, 3 toughness, so creature Goblin Scout. And when it enters, it does the Eclipsed ability where it looks at the top 4 cards of your library, and in the Boggart's case, you can reveal a goblin, swamp, or mountain from among them. You put it into your hand and the rest go on the bottom in a random order. We then have Burdened Stoneback, 1 and a white for a 4 power, 4 toughness creature giant warrior. This creature enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it, and for 1 and a white you can remove a counter from this creature to give target creature gains indestructible until end of turn, but you can only activate that as a sorcery. Pretty good, in all honesty. If you can put this in a deck with like Solemnity and things, it will enter and won't get the 2- counters. So it'll just be a 2-drop 4/4. And you can also put it in other like decks where you're just putting a lot of counters on things, because it doesn't say you have to remove a -1/-1 counter. You could remove a +1/+1 counter, or you could remove a charge counter, or whatever other kind of random counters you can get on this. Magnet counter if you are so inclined. And then we have Harmonized Crescendo as our rare for this pack. 4 blue for an instant with Convoke, and Convoke is an ability where your creatures can tap to help cast the spell. So you can tap 6 creatures as long as 2 of them are blue to cast Harmonized Crescendo without paying any other costs. and you choose a creature type. You draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. Notably, one weird, interesting little thing that this does do is there are certain non-creature permanents that have creature types from the old Lorwyn set. And this spell says you pick a creature type and then you draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. So if you're playing the fairy deck, for example, you can choose fairy, and then you can also draw cards for things like, oh god, what are they called? Tainted Trickery, I think is one of them, is an enchantment that's a fairy. I think that's what it's called. There's a bunch of things like that, like Cloak and Dagger is a rogue equipment. So you could pick rogue and then you could draw a card for that and any other rogues you've got. That sort of thing. And then we've got 7 packs of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so we'll whip through these fairly swiftly. We'll just read out the new cards and any rares. So we have Eastwind Avatar, 3 and a white for a creature bird spirit avatar, 2 power, 4 toughness, flying, vigilance, and it has the Alliance flavor ability. Alliance triggers whenever another creature enters, and in the case of Eastwind Avatar, it's this creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Pretty good. We have Ragamuffin Raptor, 4 and a green for a creature dinosaur, 4 power, 3 toughness. When this creature enters, return up to 1 target creature or food card from your graveyard to your hand. So food card like the Ice Cream Kitty or the various pizzas that are in this set. We have Karai's Technique, 1 white-black for a sorcery. It has Sneak for a white and a black. So Sneak is the new version of ninjutsu that they did for this set, where you can cast the spell for its sneak cost by returning an unblocked attacker, as long as you're in the declare blockers step. So unlike ninjutsu, where it's just you return an unblocked creature, you can do that in the attacker's step still. In this case, you have to do it during the blocker step. So you also can't do it after dealing damage and then just go, and now this. But the effect of Karai's Technique is you choose 1 or both. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn, and target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. So you can use it to really mess up combat maths, which makes it quite good. And then our rare is Don and Raph, Hard Science. For 1 and 2 Izzet hybrid manners, so blue-blue, red-red, or blue-red. Legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle. 2 power, 4 toughness. They have menace, which means they have to be blocked by more than 1 creature. And whenever Don and Raph attack, the next non-creature spell you cast this turn has affinity for artifacts. Affinity means that for each thing that the card has affinity for that you control, makes the thing cost 1 less. So your next non-creature spell would cost less for each artifact you control in this case. Not terrible. Not super amazing, but not terrible. We then have Donatello Turtle Techie, 3 and a blue for a 3 power, 4 toughness legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle. There's going to be a lot of these. When Donatello enters, if you control an artifact, draw a card. Not very exciting, that's why it's a common. We have Slithering Cryptid, 2 and a Simic hybrid, so green or blue. Creature Fish Mutant, 2 power, 3 toughness. And when this creature enters, you create a Mutagen. Mutagen is the new creature, the new artifact token type for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle set. It's a token artifact Mutagen, and it has 1 and tap, sacrifice this token, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Activate only as a sorcery. We then have the Null Group Biological Assets. 2 and a red for a creature mutant mercenary, 3 power, 1 toughness, and during your turn this creature has first strike. Whenever this creature attacks, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Not bad. Not bad. We have Dimensional Exile, which is kind of like Banishing Light, but it is more like Chained to the Rocks, or Buried. Is it Buried in Ice? I think it's Buried in Ice. There are 2 enchantments that you put on a land to exile the thing, whereas Banishing Light and Oblivion Ring and that sort of thing are just enchantments that exile the thing underneath them. So Dimensional Exile, 1 and a white, enchantment aura, enchant basic land you control. When this aura enters, exile target creature and opponent controls until this aura leaves the battlefield. And then we have another Donatello, Donatello Gadget Master, 2 and a blue for a legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle. 3 power, 2 toughness, it has Sneak for 1 and a blue. And whenever Donatello deals combat damage to a player, you create a token that's a copy of target artifact you control. Notably, it doesn't create a token that's a copy of target artifact token you control, so you can create a token that is a copy of, say, a Helm of the Hosts, or a Blinkmoth Nexus, or a Blinkmoth Urn, I should have said. Blinkmoth Nexus is not as useful. Whole bunch of artifacts. There's a load of stuff that you can do. You can make more pizzas. We've got EPF Point Squad. Such a funny name for such funny art. It has Alliance. It's 1 and 2 Boros hybrid, so white, white, red, red, or white, red. Creature, Human Soldier, 2 power, 1 toughness, and Alliance. So whenever another creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Nice. As an example of an artifact in this set, Anchovy and Banana Pizza, 2 black, black for an artifact food. When this artifact enters, you destroy target creature, and for 2 untap and sacrifice this artifact, you gain 3 life. That last bit is the typical food ability, but this one just comes with a kill spell, which is pretty good. Pretty good. We have Koya, Death from Above, 2 and a white for a legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Bird. No turtle here. 2 power, 1 toughness, flying. When the Koya enters, exile up to 1 other target creature. At the beginning of your next end step, you may pay 3 and a black. If you don't, you return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So it's either a flicker, or if you spend the extra 4 at your next upkeep, it's an actual just full exile, which is pretty nice. We then have Lita, Little Orphan Amphibian, 1 and a white for a 2 power, 1 toughness, legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle. Has Alliance, so whenever another creature you control enters, you choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. So you put a +1/+1 counter on Lita, you create a food token, or you scry one. So Lita is basically a Gala Greeters in white that instead of making a tapped treasure token makes a food token. But the other 2 modes are basically the same, scrying one or putting a counter on themselves. Pretty good. We have Savanti Romero times Exile. 3 black, black for a legendary creature demon wizard, 4 power, 4 toughness, trample. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Savanti Romero. Then you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of counters on Savanti Romero. So on turn 5 you play it, on turn 6 you put a counter on it and you draw a card and lose a life. But if you can get more counts on it somehow, you can do more with it. We've then got next pack. Make your move. 2 and a white instant. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with power 4 or greater. Pretty standard spell, just changing the name and moving it to a new set. We have Stockman, Mad Flyantist, 4 and a blue, legendary creature, insect mutant scientist. 3 power, 4 toughness. It has island cycling for 2. So you can spend 2 mana and discard this card to go and search your library for an island card. And then put that card into your hand. It has flying. It has when it enters, you draw a card, then discard a card. Again, not a super exciting legendary. We then have Omni Cheese Pizza there, which is nice. And Baxter Stockman again. Stockman, Baxter Stockman. And our rare is Don and Leo Problem Solvers. 3 and 2 Azorius hybrids, so white, white, blue, blue, or white, blue. Legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle. 4 power, 6 toughness, vigilance. Which means they can attack without tapping. And at the beginning of your end step, you exile up to 1 target artifact you control and up to 1 target creature you control. Return them to the battlefield under their owner's control. So you can get more ETBs, like if you flicker the Omni Cheese Pizza, you get to draw a card again. If you flicker Stockman, you get to draw a card, then discard a card again. If you flicker Michelangelo, you get to make a mutagen. If you flicker Baxter Stockman, you get to make another robot. That sort of stuff. And then it also triggers any alliance abilities that you've got. So not terrible. And I think one of my quests is to make a white-blue deck. Or to cast white-blue spells. We have Raphael, Tough Turtle, 1 and a red for legendary creature Ninja Turtle. 1 power, 3 toughness. Alliance, so they deal 1 damage to target opponent whenever another creature enters. We then have the Purple Dragon Punks. 1 and a red for a creature human rogue. 2 power, 2 toughness, and they have tap to add red. Spend this mana only to cast an artifact spell or activate an ability of an artifact. No? Cast artifact spell or to activate an ability. Doesn't have to be of an artifact. We then have an Everything Pizza. 2 mana for an artifact food. When this artifact enters, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And for 2 white, blue, black, red, green, or as we refer to it, the full Wooberg, plus 2 extra colourless mana, or generic mana, and tap and sacrifice this artifact. Target player gains 3 life and draws a card. Each of your opponents discards a card. This artifact deals 3 damage to any target, and put 3+1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature. So it kind of has the food ability, but it makes it for everything. So the white part is the gain the 3 life, the blue part is draw a card, the black part is your opponent discarding a card, the red part is dealing 3 damage, and the green part is putting 3+1/+1 counters. So pretty good. And then we've got a mythic wild card. 2 more packs, then we can jump into the Brawl Challenge. We have Primordial Pachyderm. 3 and a green for a creature elephant avatar. 4 power, 4 toughness, reach, trample, and when this creature enters, you gain 2 life. We then have West Wind avatar. 5 green for a 7 power, 7 toughness creature cat spirit avatar. It has trample. It has whenever this creature enters or attacks, you may sacrifice a token or a land. If you do, you gain 3 life. And it has disappear, which is another flavor keyword for this set specifically. So disappear is at the beginning of your end step. If a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn, do X. And in this case, it's draw a card, which is pretty nice. We then have another Donatello Gadget Master. Tripping over my words a little bit here. The West Wind Avatar is also pretty good because it triggers itself, because when it enters and attacks, you can sacrifice a token or land. Then that'll be a permanent that's left the battlefield. Last pack before we get into the Brawl Build Challenge. We've got Mouser Attack. Mouse Attack. 1 and a red for an instant. Choose 1. You create a 1/1 colourless robot artifact creature token. Or target creature you control gets +3/+0 and first strike. So it's a combat trick that can also just be used to make an extra creature if you're struggling. We then have Mouser Foundry, 1 and a red for artifact. When this artifact enters or leaves the battlefield, create a 1/1 colourless robot artifact creature token. And 4 and a red, sacrifice this artifact. It deals 3 damage to target creature. We have Metalhead, 4 and a blue for a legendary artifact creature robot turtle. 4 power, 4 toughness. When Metalhead enters, return up to 1 other target artifact or creature to its owner's hand. And then red, sacrifice another artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on Metalhead. He gains menace and haste until end of turn. So he can eat your Mouser Foundries or your pizzas. The Cloning Shredder, a mythic saga. 4 black for an enchantment saga. So enchantment sagas have chapters, as you can see down the side, and when it enters and after your draw step each turn, you add a lore counter and then you trigger the ability for however many lore counters it's got. And then after the third ability has resolved, you sacrifice it. So the first chapter is exile target creature card from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it isn't legendary and is a mutant in addition to its other types. Then the second and third chapters both go create a token that's a copy of a card exiled with this saga, except it isn't legendary and is a mutant in addition to its other types. Wait a second. Right. Which is a whole bunch of new cards. We've got Tender Eyes, 1 and a green for an instant. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. pretty good punch. We've got Manhole Missile, 1 and a red for an instant. Manhole Missile deals 3 damage to target creature. You may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library if you do draw a card. Pretty good. Zog, Triceraton Castaway, 4 and a red for a 5 power, 4 toughness, legendary creature dinosaur soldier, has reach, has trample, has when it enters target creature can't block this turn, and has mountain cycling for 2. As far as the common legendaries go, not awful. Not amazing, but not awful. We've got Mutant Chain Reaction, 2 and a green for a sorcery. Destroy up to 1 target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Create a mutagen token. And we have Turtle Lair. It's a uncommon land. Taps to add colorless. Taps to add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a ninja or turtle spell. Or 3 and tap. Target ninja or turtle can't be blocked this turn. So it's good for sneak and ninjutsu decks. And then our rare is the Turtle Van, 3 mana, 4 power, 4 toughness artifact vehicle with crew 1. Whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature that crewed it this turn. Then, if that creature is a mutant, ninja, or turtle, double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. Turtle Van.